Zeke, 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 Zeke. You know that's what everyone's chanting in Philadelphia right now. Oh yeah, it's literally 1999 all over again. Doug Peterson is Andy Reid, Ezekiel Elliott is Ricky Williams, and if the fans in Chicago boo the pick, if it's not Zeke, then I'm really going to start having some flashbacks. Kyle Gaffner is here. I'm Adrian Fedkiw. We're back for another video tonight. We're talking running back rankings. We all know who is the top guy in this class. It's Ezekiel Elliott. But the big question in Philadelphia is, are the Eagles going to take him at number 8? What do you think?
I don't know. It looks like it's geared towards that way, like they're setting themselves up to take the running back. But I don't know, because there's other potential guys that are going to be there at 8. That's why you traded up there. I don't think they traded up there to get Ezekiel Elliott, but I don't know if they think he's going to fall to them at 8 too. But by the sounds of the way Howie Roseman's talking and then just the culture of everything, you bring in Doug Peterson, who had a lot of success out in Kansas City with running the ball. It looks like we're gearing up to bring in an Ohio State Buckeye at the running back position.
Well, this is an idea I've warmed up to over the last couple weeks, but I still wouldn't take him at number 8. There are guys that I would prefer, like Ronnie Stanley, tackle, Notre Dame. I would prefer Vernon Hargreaves, cornerback, Florida. I prefer these guys. But because of the style of offense, like you referenced, the slow and methodical grind, churning right down the field. If you watch Kansas City last year, they had the 6th highest run ratio in the NFL, which is kind of surprising considering that's an Andy Reid team. Andy Reid is pass happy, has a pass happy offense, calls a lot of passes. They were, I believe they ran the 2nd fewest plays per game, 59.8. So slow, methodical, go right down the field. And the thing about Elliott, he's a physical runner. He's gonna, be great in between the tackles. He breaks a lot of tackles. He's got a good forward lean. His shoulder pads are always square, so he's going to get those extra yards, the extra 2 to 3 yards to finish off his runs.
Oh, yeah.
But those long drives, those 10, 12, 14-play drives, by the time you reach the goal line, nobody's going to want to tackle the guy.
They're gassed. And that's what you want to do. And it's bringing the old style of the 70s and 80s back to the NFL, and I love it. I love teams that just punch it right up the gut, down the throat with the running backs. I love the Seattles. I love even when the Redskins were doing it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they just punch it right up your throat. And it benefits you because the defense is so tired by the time you get down there. I mean, you literally could just walk into the end zone. It's awesome. And that's why I would kind of like for them to grab Ezekiel at 8. But I'm with you too. If Stanley or Hargreaves are there, I'm torn. I'd go more the defensive back because corner is weak, especially since you just lost Maxwell, even though he looked awful last year. Eric Rowe, I don't think is ready to step in and be a starting cornerback, but, Vernon Hargreaves is a day one starter, instant impact guy.
Yeah, I want Bobby Taylor and Troy Vincent back. I want Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown back. I want a dominant duo. That's what I want, and you can get that in Vernon Hargreaves and Eric Rowe, absolutely. So let's move on to this, because there's talk about, they talk about how the running back has been devalued, and this is something that Howie Roseman talked about yesterday at the owners' meetings, and how he did some research about the top 10 runners of the last 10 years and how most of them are first-round picks. They're not, in the 5th, 6th, 7th round. So what do you think about that statement?
I agree with it too, because I know we were talking about this a little bit too. Next year's draft class is very loaded, so I know you said that the idea, pass on Zeke and take that tackle or the cornerback and wait till next year to grab your guy. I'm kind of thinking the other way. I'm very impatient. I don't know if I would want to wait because you don't know what the Eagles are going to do, and maybe the league is a copycat league. Who I still think it's going to be pass happy, but I think those guys are going to be coming off the board like Nick Chubb and Leonard Fournier and guys like that. So I would like to see some excitement. And you know how impatient Philly fans are. We want instant results right away. I don't know if they'd be happy with taking it. It's not the sexy pick, but you have to take a tackle if Stanley's there, because if you could have the best running back behind you and without a great line, you're not doing nothing. So
very good point.
But Zeke can do it all. He can run in between the tackles, outside the tackles. He can pass block. He can catch the ball. It would be a jolt of excitement into this offense and take some pressure off of Sam Bradford and the young wide receivers that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did some research on this topic because to plug PhillyInfluencer.com again, I'm going to have name drop. I'm going to have an article tomorrow morning about if the Eagles should draft Ezekiel Elliott. And I did some research, and I'm trying to think of the numbers off the top of my head. But I do know this past year, only 7 running backs ran for over 1,000 yards. That's pretty incredible because you're like, well, 1,000 yards, that's so easy to get to. Only 7 guys did it. And Adrian Peterson was the only guy that made the playoffs out of that bunch. And he's a guy that had, I believe it was 327 carries this year. And he's the only guy to run over 300 times. You look back 10 years ago. This is how pass happy this league has become. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I believe it was 23 guys ran for over 1,000 yards, and 10 guys were over 300 carries. So running backs are being utilized less and less and less. The 1,000 yards seasons, they're dwindling. They're not happening as often. And I believe last year, what's that?
I hate it. I hate it.
I believe Buffalo was the only team last year to run the ball more than they threw it. So even the Carolina Panthers, the grounded pound, Carolina Panthers threw the ball more than they ran it. So that's just the way the league's becoming.
And it's kind of sad, and I think they have changed the rules geared towards more of because of the fantasy and everybody playing fantasy. So they want the high up-tempo air attack up and down the field, which is exciting. I like to see that too from time to time, but it sucks because I like to see a defensive game sometimes. I don't like to see teams like you were saying, guys, 10 years ago there was how many? 23 guys that went over 1,000 yards. Now look at all the quarterbacks that throw for over 5,000 yards. It's just like, you got bunked. Like Kirk Cousins did it. Come on. Like, it's just like it went from running to passing. And I don't like that. I want that smash mouth defense and that ground and pound game to come back.
Yeah. Trying to think of other numbers. It's hard off the top of my head because some of them are like so intricate, but my thing is this. I would wait until next year. We already kind of referenced this already, but you're not going to draft in the top 10 often. So I want to get that elite cornerback, that elite tackle, and then wait until next year to get your running back because you can wait until the second round even to get a guy. I mean, you look at some of the greatest running backs in Eagles history. LaShawn McCoy, 2nd round pick. Brian Westbrook, 3rd round pick. Wilbert Montgomery was a 6th rounder. So you can wait until later in the draft, like 2nd, 3rd round, maybe not late, but 2nd and 3rd round, you can find those type of guys. So just to run down some of these names for next year, I mean, it's stacked. It really is. Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Royce Freeman, Nick Chubb, Samaje Perine, Dalvin Cook. And, I mean, that's just, Wayne Gallman.
Gallman from Clemson, too.
Yeah, so that's a whole bunch of names, and all of those guys would be, number 2 on this year's draft class list.
Well, you're saying that, but couldn't you say the same thing about the cornerbacks this year? It's a very deep class here. Why not wait till the 3rd round to grab a cornerback? Do you think the drop-off is that much? Well,
here's what I'm thinking. I would rather pair up a Hargraves and a Chubb, say, for next year, because I don't think the drop-off with these running backs, an Elliott to like a Chubb or a Fournette. I don't know if Fournette would last us next year, or even maybe Chubb, but like a McCaffrey or like Cook or Gallman, I think these guys are pretty legit. So I don't think the drop-off is that drastic. I think Zeke's better than some of those guys I just listed. I mean, I don't think he's better than Fournette, but I think Chubb and them, they're basically on the same playing field. But some of those other guys, it's not really that far of a drop-off.
Good point. That's a very good point. Now I'm wondering, with how erratic Howie Roseman's been with the draft with the Eagles the past couple of years, do you see him grabbing Zeke, or do you just see him going out of left field and grabbing like Noah Spence.
Oh, God. He would totally go after Noah Spence because he's dumb enough to do it.
Yeah, because he's done that a lot. A la last year when I thought they should have drafted Marcus Peters, but they went after that stud Marcus Smith, man. I mean, great moves by the big Howie Roseman. So, and they trade. It just leads to us going after running back though, because they traded away DeMarco Murray. So it just looks like they are geared up to go after Zeke. If it's a good idea, I don't know, but I like your theory on that, going after next year's class of it being stacked. I think Hargraves is an instant starter and can make a lot of big plays.
Yeah, and I'm really huge on Hargraves, and that's somebody we'll talk about, obviously, on our cornerback show. So I don't know if I've missed anything. Oh, well, before we get to our rankings, there are, little reports out there that Joey Bosa and Elliott, they like to take part in a drug called Molly. Pop the Molly, I'm sweating. So I don't know if that's going to hurt their draft stock or not. What do you think?
I don't think it will. I mean, a lot of this stuff gets leaked a lot of times. Media comes out and tries to ruin these guys' reputation. It happened with Robert Ndimchi. I think they had good interviews at the draft combine. So I think if they had any questions, that would have been answered there. I don't see that happening, though. I don't see them dropping any just because of some bogus. They're in college, for God's sakes. And how do you know it's even true? These guys get drug tested.
Yeah. What do you think? I think I don't know if this is true. I heard this, that Elliott didn't take a drug test at the combine, but I don't know. I'm just speculating there. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I mean, it's college, whatever. I mean, I could definitely see Joey Bosa being a raver. He'll rave. I could see that, definitely.
He does look like a raver.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's the biggest bust of this class. But that's
another story we can get into.
I'm not big on him at all. All right, let's get into the list. Obviously, we both have Ezekiel Elliott number 1. I don't think we really need to extend on him. Maybe if you want to, if you have a scouting report on him. What do you like about him?
I like that he can run in this inside the tackles, outside the tackles. He can pass block, like I said before. He can catch out of the backfield. He's got great footwork. He does fight for extra yards, so he's just not going to be kind of like Shady got tackled. You just tap him in the foot and he'd fall down. This guy's going to break tackles. He's got quick feet. Oh, and he ran a 4.4 at the 40. And I like quick running backs. I kind of am the guy that goes like, oh, look at that burner. He did a nice 40. But that's some of the stuff I like about him.
Yeah. I mean, I already kind of talked about him already. Just the physicality, the vision, the balance, the patience that he has. He's going to be a good one. He's going to be right up there with Todd Gurley from last year. So I don't like. Oh, that's something we didn't talk about is like the bust rate of running backs over the last couple of years. According to Pro Football Focus, running backs have a 49% bust rate, which is the highest of any position in the last. I think it's 25 years or something. It is so.
Wow.
You think of some of these guys that are drafted high. Reggie Bush and Kajana Carter, Tim Biakabatuka. Remember him?
No, I don't remember him.
Tim Biakabatuka, Kajana Carter. I mean, some of these guys are just awful. Curtis Enos.
Trent Richardson.
Yeah, Trent Richardson. So, you never know. And some of these guys do get drafted high and they don't pan out. So, and it's the position most likely to happen. So, too.
And if you're taking a top 10 flyer on these guys, you're going to want to make sure that they check all the boxes and if they're going to work in your team system or not. But and it's been devalued as well, so that drops their draft stock even lower.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the rest of our list because we do have some discrepancies. Who's your number 2 guy?
I got Booker out of Utah as my number 2 guy. I like him. He kind of reminds me of Zeke a little bit. Not the potential that Zeke offers, but he ran in a run-based offense out there with the Utes. He's a 3-8. He's had some injury problems, so I think that's what he's going to hurt him a little bit, but he's got great vision, quick feet, can pass block, and can catch the ball out of the field. And that's huge in this days NFL because it's so pass happy. So you're going to want a running back to do all those things. I wasn't high on Henry. I know a lot of people have him as the number 2 running back, but I'll get into that a little later. Who do you have?
He is my number 2 guy, but I'm not like thrilled about him either. He's just kind of he's the number 2 guy because the running back class isn't that great. So that's kind of the way that is. It's kind of like the same way with the
quarterbacks.
I had Paxton Lynch at number 3. So I have Derrick Henry. Yes, I have him at number 2. Downhill bulldozer. I mean, he has some bursts to get in the second level, break some runs. At 245 pounds, he ran a sub 4.55 40, but he's not that elusive. I don't think he can really create for himself.
Nope.
But if you put him on a team with some great blocking, like say Dallas, for instance, I think he could fare really well. But if he's on a bad, if he has a bad line in front of him, I don't see him being that good.
Nope. He kind of reminds me of his teammate that came out a couple of years ago, a la Trent Richardson, as we just talked about. Same kind of runner. Richardson was a little bit more elusive, but he's that big bull runner that could just going to truck right through you like Brandon Jacobs was. But if he had a great line at Alabama, hence why he had so much success. But he did have a little bit – he surprised me a little bit in the passing game where he could catch, and I didn't think he had that in his game. And he ran a 4.5 sub 40, which I was surprised. I had him running like a 4.7 at least, being 245 pounds. But he's going to have to go to the right system to be effective.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Henry's your 3rd guy, I believe, right? So we just talked about him?
Correct.
Okay. I have Kenneth Dixon of Louisiana Tech as my 3rd guy. And he's the guy I kind of want the Eagles to grab in, like, if he's available in the 3rd round. I think he's a fit for the offense because of his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Well-rounded guy, equally adept as a runner and as a pass catcher. And, the thing about this offense, Doug Peterson, Andy Reid, the running backs, I mean, they always have to have that ability of catching the ball. You think of Brian Westbrook, LaShawn McCoy, those kind of guys. Really good, with the ball in their hands out in space, getting
Jamal Charles.
Yeah, Jamal Charles, another one. Yeah, obviously. So I think he would be a good fit for this offense. And I just think he's a pretty good running back in general. Like I think he's balanced. He's tough. He squeezes out as many yards as he can. And I talked about, the passing game. He's got some really soft hands on him as well. So I think he's a really, really underrated kind of back in this class, and he's my 3rd ranked guy.
I like that. I had him a little lower. I had Alex Collins as my 4th guy, but you had him as your 3rd. You just talked about your 3rd.
3rd, yeah. Collins I have 5th. Oh, I don't know why I just said that because we didn't get to that yet, but yeah, go ahead.
It's all good. But yeah, I had him as my 4th round guy. Now he kind of reminds me of kind of like Henry is. He's a big cowbell. He's a bull rusher. And that's only because it's a thin at running back as well. I can't wait for next year so we could talk about these great running backs that are coming out. But he's a little bit slow-footed. He's kind of like, I think he's going to be your goal line type of running back. Bring him in. He'll come out in 3rd downs because he doesn't pass protect too well. And a lot of running backs have issues with that, which also makes Ezekiel even more, a great pick at number 8, but I had him at number 4. He'll come in, pound you, give it right up the gut, get it in for your goal line. Kind of like White at a USC a couple years back. Liddell White, that's what his name was. He didn't last in the league that long, but that's what I think Alex Collins is going to be.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you there. I have him 5th. Like I said, he's not anything special, but he kind of does everything well, sort of thing. Tough downhill kind of runner. Like you said, he's not fast. So that's kind of the way I feel about him. I have Booker at number 4. So Booker's right after Dixon. So he's up there with, on my list as well. He's a versatile guy as well. Quickness. He's got some toughness, elusiveness. Very good in college, gaining yards after contact. And
the block was unbelievable on him.
Yeah. So it's a shame that he's got some injury problems because he might be higher on my list if it weren't for those issues.
Hopefully those nagging injuries don't hurt his potential and his draft stock, because even though the Eagles don't have a 2nd round pick, if he's there, I would try to make something happen and try to get up into the second round to grab this kid because he kind of reminds me, like you were talking about Dixon too. He kind of reminds me of that all-around back that can do it all. Works in the screen. I could see him a la Westbrook just going after them screens and elusiveness and breaking tackles. And he had a really fast 40 as well, which is big in my book.
Mm-hmm. Now your number 5 guy, since we already kind of went over mine.
My number 5 guy, who did I have as my number 5? Well, I got it written down right here.
You have Taylor, I think.
Oh, yes, Taylor. I only put him in because I loved his dad coming out. That's the only reason I put him in there. He's nothing like Fred Taylor. Fred Taylor, obviously, if you didn't know, was his dad. I like the Florida Gators as well. I only put him in there just because his dad was a great overall running back. He could maybe teach him some things. He'll be a late, probably 5th round grade on him, but he's probably not going to be anything special. I just big fan of Fred Taylor. That's the only reason I put him in there.
That's funny. All right, before we go, you got any other guys that you like? Some kind of under the radar guys, maybe some guys that you hate as well? Oh, actually, we don't need to talk about the hatred because we both are kind of on the same wavelength on Henry. So who are some under the radar guys?
I was gonna say you touched on him out of Dixon was the guy I was gonna talk about. But you named everything that he had that I liked about him. Just an overall around guy, soft hands, has some elusiveness. I heard he had a bad injury. I heard that's why he might drop a little bit. I don't know if that's true or not. Something along with his MCL. So I don't know. Like guys that have nagging injuries like that, I don't know if I want to take a flyer. That's why maybe if Booker can overcome these and he gets checked out, I'd pull a trigger on him. But Dixon I like as well. That's one of the under the radar guy I like.
Yeah, I really like. I mean, I got him 3rd, so I'm really high on him. Just running down the rest of my list, I got CJ Prosise 6th, Kenyon Drake 7th, Paul Perkins 8th, Tyler Irvin 9, and Daniel Lasco at number 10. Irvin's the guy to watch out for here. He's a small little guy from San Jose State. He's only like 5'9" or something, 5'8", 5'9", but he was a workhorse there, and so
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as you have a good offensive line in front of you. I mean, sure, you might wear down a little quicker, but I'm curious to see how he does at the NFL level because I do kind of like him a little bit.
I like little scat backs like that too. Look at MJD, Sproles even, and Atlanta has a guy like that, and Devontae Freeman. So you can't underestimate a guy's heart that even though they're only 5'9", they got that low center of gravity. So you hide behind them big offensive lines, you could get a lot of production out of a guy like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I agree with you there. So that's pretty much it for this one as well. We got 2 videos today. So double shot Tuesday here at the Bitter Birds, and we're gonna be doing all the positions leading up to the draft.
We got the 2 weak ones out of there, so we'll have a little bit more to talk about, like the fun edge rushers and the linebackers are real deep, and the cornerbacks as well. So stay tuned for that, guys.
Yeah, we'll probably do wide receivers and tight ends next. Well, we can't do Sunday, but I know you're available Monday. Sunday's Easter. So
yes, it is.
Yeah, so we can't do that. But Monday you're free, right? You're free Sundays and Mondays.
Yes, sir.
All right. So that's what we're gonna do. Next show, we're gonna do 2 ones again, get wide receiver, tight ends in there. Then we'll do line, then we'll move to the defense. We'll do everything. Everything except for probably kickers and punters and special teams gunners. We'll stay away from those guys.
Yeah, those are kind of just throw-ins. No big deal. Even though that one kicker out of Florida State, a lot of people are high on him. Might go 1st round. Who knows?
Oh, boy. Roberto Aguayo, Robert Aguayo or something?
Yeah, something like that. It's a shame Al Davis isn't around because he'd do it.
Sebastian Janikowski.
1st round. What a nut.
Steve ass. Well, the Eagles did something stupid, too, when they took Alex Henry in the 4th round when Richard Sherman was still on the board.
God, we won't even get into that. And, they passed on Earl Thomas's, too. So, two Legion of Boom guys that they passed on that they could have had.
Yeah, we're going to end this show now because I don't want to start throwing shit on TV, on camera. So, we'll stay away from that. For Kyle Gaffner, I'm Adrian Fedkiw. Hope you guys liked the shows today. We're out of here. Later.
All right. Have a good one.